You are listening to the Oddball Aussie Podcast, News Edition. That's right. Welcome back to the Oddball Aussie Podcast, News Edition. We're back with some really interesting news. Just getting my audio correct here, and once again we are live. So this will be a very interesting episode. So welcome to the Oddball Aussie News. I hope you all enjoy this, and after this we'll be rolling over for a bit of streaming as well on the gaming stream on YouTube still. So check that out. We'll be continuing on with the Cyberpunk. So definitely check that out, and I hope you enjoy that as well. All right, so I hope you've all been well since last time you checked in. I've been keeping very, very, very busy with all the this Oddball news and everything going on. Definitely, if you want to have a chat, chuck something up in the chat there. Follow me on the Instagram, the Oddball Aussie Podcast, or at Aussie Oddball. Also on Twitter, at Aussie Oddball. And check me out on Facebook as well. I'm not as active there, but definitely check out the page, the Oddball Aussie Podcast. And you can also check out the TeePublic store if you want to buy some merch. We've got some shirts and stuff like that over there. Really worth a check out. A lot of stuff I've drawn myself. And that's the Oddball Aussie Podcast at TeePublic. And you can also send me your emails with your stories and anything you want to talk about, because I'd be very interested in hearing from you all in regards to that. So that's the Oddball Aussie Podcast. The Oddball Aussie at hotmail.com. Alrighty. Let's fade out a bit of that music there. Okay, so where do we begin? Well, as you can see, we're looking at an Ark, and a motorbike just drove past. Good one, mate. So we're looking at an Ark. This is a Noah's Ark replica, I guess. A replica of Noah's Ark is currently stuck there because it doesn't have the correct paperwork. This is at Ipswich's waterfront. The vessel arrived at Orwell Quay in November 2019 and has been detained there for 18 months by the Coast Guard. The owners of the Dutch-flagged Ark are locked in an impossible stalemate with the agency, and now Transport Secretary Grant Shapps is being asked to get involved. The £2.6 million biblical museum, so that's almost, looking at over nearly $6 million. Biblical museum is owned by Dutch TV producer Ard Peters, who could apply for an exemption to be allowed to return to Holland. But the Coast Guard has serious concerns and insists that it is not safe. They said Noah's Ark will remain detained until all deficiencies have been put right, and the MCA surveyor is invited back by the owners to check that they've been corrected. Now, I get that because you can already see that it's worn down in some areas and stuff. And if something were to happen within their waters still, they would have to respond with their Coast Guard. And could you imagine the danger of trying to rescue someone in the bowels of this thing? It's quite a beast of a ship. It'd be great to watch it out in the ocean, though. I think it'd be very, very interesting. So for now, it's stuck there. Towage plans have now been made for the Ark to return to the Netherlands, and the vessel is still awaiting towage approval to depart from the UK. So, as far as I know, it's still there, unless someone knows any differently, and then you can pass it on to me. Very very weird story, that one. Okay, so this has caught my interest. I'll change it over to this for you. You're reading that right. A cocky wild boars and aggressive radioactive pigs set up camp in Fukushima nuclear exclusion zone. And this isn't the only strange pig story we have for the day. Radioactive hybrid pigs have reportedly taken over part of the nuclear exclusion zone in Fukushima. Now, I did double check that this wasn't something from Babylon B or something like that. This really made me go, Really? I don't know about this one, but it turns out it's true. I guess scientists discovered the threat near the former Japanese power plant in the urban areas vacated by humans in the wake of the 2011 meltdown at the plant. Uh, so yeah, they've been working on this one for a while. They've been tracking this for a while. They found the Japanese boar, the country's local wild boar, have overrun an area that was once inhabited by 160,000 people, according to a study in the wildlife in the region. The boars are described as cocky and aggressive. I don't know what makes them cocky, but they also started interbreeding with the escaped domesticated pigs that were left behind by their previous owners. This has resulted in a new kind of boar-pig hybrid from the initial exclusion zone, which is 20 kilometers of the nuclear plant site and where radiation levels were believed to be the highest. This horrifying radioactive concoction now makes up to 10% of the local population. It is feared that these hairy terrors have the wild smarts of the boar combined with the domestication habits of the pigs. Humans trying to reclaim their former homes around Fukushima have found themselves at war with the new settlers. Yeah, this is some crazy stuff. The study found the hybrids did not display signs of mutation, though, despite being contaminated with up to 300 times the safe human dosage of radioactive isotope cesium-137. Scientists suggested that while the interbreeding of the species had no ill effects, they still they think the pig genes will eventually dilute the hybrid genetic makeup until the introgressed genes will eventually disappear in this area. So yeah, they're not. It's interesting. They've got so much radiation in the system, but we're not seeing really any mutations. So all of you Fallout fans, I'm a massive Fallout fan who was expecting like a two-headed boar with giant tusks and maybe 5 tails. No, we didn't get that. So, maybe Fallout's not a true story after all. But jumping over to Europe and jumping specifically to Russia, radioactive wild boars roaming European mountains after eating mushrooms contaminated by Chernobyl. So these are the mushrooms. So this is what I put up on the Instagram, and these are these weird mushrooms that have been contaminated. So a cold and snowy winter is forcing the boars to feed on false truffles, an underground mushroom common in the Sumava mountain region, shared by the Czechs, Austrians, Germans, and wild boars. The mushrooms can absorb high levels of the radioactive isotope cesium-137, and 3 decades ago, the nuclear catastrophe at Chernobyl released a fair amount of cesium-137 that eventually drifted down on the Sumava mountains. Now, this is strange that this is happening at the same... well, this is older. This is from 2017. But this is strange that this is a trend with the boars. Like 2017, we had it in Russia, and then now we've got it happening near Fukushima. So... now the boars are eating the mushrooms and ingesting the cesium, however you want to say it, cesium or cesium? I'm saying cesium, I think, because it looks like Caesar. Anyway, cesium-137 along with them. That's making their meat radioactive. Jiri Drapal at the State Veterinary Administration told Reuters it is more or less seasonal issue. DePaul said, but it's a long season. Half-life of cesium-137 is 30 years, and that is, it takes 30 years for the radioactivity of the isotopes to fall to half its original value. Then another 30 years to fall to half again, and so on and so forth. The boars could be glowing for quite a while. We can expect to find food for a number of years now that's been affected. So they're not really glowing, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's amazing how this specific animal, the wild boar, is able to put up with so much of this radioactive isotope that would absolutely destroy us. It's it's quite the feat on the boars. I mean, maybe the boar will eventually overtake the planet, but maybe they already have, pigs in the trough. No, let's not get too controversial. Alrighty, so let's have a break from strange and crazy boars that are radioactive and may or may not have multiple heads. Inside the Iranian island rituals to exorcise wind spirits. So this is a lady who is exorcising wind spirits. The Strait of Hormuz flows along a coastal indent in the south of Iran. It's one of the most strategic oil transit choke points in the world, with tankers moving millions of barrels of oil between the Persian Gulf and the open seas along its waters every day. The strait has been defined by the movement for millennia. Before oil trade vessels sailed through it to India and Africa, humans have moved through the region since at least Paleolithic times. So on the small island of that dot in the strait, including Hamas, Qeshm, and Hengam, ancient movements take center stage. Here, people believe the winds blow in from faraway lands can possess people and cause them to fall ill. To ward off the winds, a hereditary cult leader holds a ceremony, lighting incense and directing hypnotic drums to draw the winds out of the possessed person. Most extraordinary of all this is the person possessed by the spirit wind, seeking cure, writhing and dancing while covered by a large cloth, is one of the main drawing points. This is what sort of gets everyone looking. So they're basically wrapped up in these quilts and these large cloths and blankets, things like that. And then they have to dance around. The facial mask is a part of it as well. And it all has shamanic reasoning behind it. The drummers drum and the shaman recites poetry of the wind in Swahili, Arabic, or Farsi, depending on where the wind comes from. What the visual medium of photography cannot easily communicate is the magic of the sound of the drums and the stringed instruments and the poetry of the shaman, who supplants the Muslim mullah and the Western physician. All this is required for the winds to lower themselves into the sick person under the care of the shaman. So it's definitely a very old tradition. According to a 1983 study of Iraj Bashiri, the patient is isolated for up to 2 weeks and massaged with Indian herbs before the exorcism. Sometimes the winds make sacrificial demands, ranging from bamboo sticks to gold jewelry, before they leave a body. When the wind is ready to leave, the patient beats their chest to release it. Spectators know better than to yawn at this moment. All winds are contagious, and the evil wind could easily make them sick too, if it slipped into their mouths. Afshar, born in Tehran, was drawn to the parallels between the island's history as a point of transit and the spiritual practice that centers on winds arriving from across the region, particularly from Africa. The tradition itself is thought to have come from Tonga Bantu clans of Southeast Africa through the Arab slave trade. Slavery in Iran was only abolished in 1929. The African roots of this tradition then merge with Iranian Islamic beliefs and culture and often goes unspoken within the community, in which there remains prejudice against people of African descent. The winds of history wrote the history of trade between continents, trade in music, raw materials, and slaves, sadly, not to mention many of the indefinable sensations that guide us through life. It's a really interesting story, actually. Very old tradition that's just continued to be passed on, and just continues to be a thing today. So if you're listening in and if you've got any questions about if you got any questions about any of these stories, just message me and tell me what you ask me some questions. I'll see if I can answer them as well as I can. But so just double checking the stream here. Still learning a few things with the stream, so just bear with me for a second, and we'll get back into it. Alrighty. So now moving on from shamanism, and we're going to be going on to, yes, that happy little plant there. We all know what that is, I bet. And so why are we talking about marijuana? How cannabis could save the planet in fight against climate change. Now, this one I found very interesting. I'm working at the moment on doing, this has been a work in, I wouldn't say even work in progress. It's been a very slow research job I've been doing, researching everything to do with marijuana and cannabis related materials, plants, materials, things that we use, things that can be replaced, plastics, fibers, stuff like that. So it's been very interesting to do the research on this. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a whole big episode all about cannabis and its uses, mainly the hemp side of things. Not so much the medicinal side, but definitely the hemp industry is growing in leaps and bounds. So experts are increasingly optimistic that the world's most versatile natural product can supercharge efforts to avoid environmental meltdown. When farmed on a large scale, it is hoped that its natural properties and the potential for it to save land and water can benefit farmers alongside decarbonising industries through an array of hemp products. Speaking exclusively to metro.co.uk, the director of Oxford University's Environmental Change Institute claimed that there is good reason to be hyped about this cannabis plant. Now, recently we saw the prototypes of a hemp built aeroplane, which is very, very interesting. So there's a lot of fiber type materials that are being made out of hemp nowadays. So Dr. Michael Obersteiner said it might turn out to be a land-saving crop in the sense that you would need more land to produce the same amount of protein, oil, biomass it produced by separate specialized crops. The land saving would spare the expansion of cropland into forests. This will create substantial emissions saving. There are also hopes that the plant can improve soil yields and absorb significant amounts of carbon, while the British Hemp Alliance, BHA, say it can provide a host of other environmental benefits too. So I guess sort of talking about you could grow hemp, grow the marijuana plant and turn it back into the soil in many ways. We do this with a lot of other crops already just to get that positive carbon and get that positive nutrients back into the soil. So BHA managing director and co-founder Rebecca Sharman, what a name. Of course, that's the co-founder of the British Hemp Alliance. Rebecca Sharman explained hemp was wide-ranging applications, which included construction materials, biodegradable plastics, and uses in the automotive and aerospace industries. Well, during my research, I've found that there's quite a few people who have built houses out of hemp, which blew me away. And I'm hoping to get an interview soon with someone who actually lives in one of these hemp houses. And also, I've been using some hemp products just as a test to see how they've been working on myself. So I have a hemp t-shirt that has really lasted really long. I've been using it as a running shirt, and it's been really comfortable. It's actually been better than bamboo shirts. What else? I've been using hemp oil capsules. So no CBD oils in that, obviously, just hemp. And honestly, it has been better. I've always had a few back and knee and joint issues down my the lower back and through the right leg, the knee and the foot. And whenever I'm taking these hemp capsules, it seems to take the swelling away, which is really good, especially after a really big run. So Miss Sharman claimed hemp could help create a lucrative green and sustainable economy, heralding its quick growth and ability to aerate soil. And yes, it grows so quickly. It's the world's most versatile natural product, potentially replacing wood, cotton, and all petroleum-based products. And it's possible. The amazing thing is the plastics that can be made out of hemp. I was also using tried out hemp soap, which has it's all natural, and I noticed that it didn't make the skin feel really dried out at the end. So I rated it. Compared to cotton that requires about 1,400 gallons of water every pound of produce, hemp requires half of that or even less, and yet produces 200 to 250% more fiber on the same amount of land. That's crazy, and that would be an amazing crop for us to grow in Australia, because water not being as prolific out west especially, that'd be really, really handy for us to use. So while Dr. Williamson is more optimistic about hemp products like biofuel and insulation making various industries more environmentally friendly, there definitely are opportunities here, he explains, suggesting it could be more cost effective for producers than current alternatives. Yeah, I'd love to see cotton producers turn to producing hemp, but we need the thing is, for production to go up, we need the industry for that. So it could be an interesting next couple of years, I reckon. We'll keep an eye on that. Alrighty, so now moving on to this. I have a look at this. This is a optical illusion, and it's not often that they discover new optical illusions. So a new type of mind-bending visual illusion makes people see dazzling rays that aren't really there at all. So if you're looking at it, yeah, you can see it looks like looking at a diamond, like the rays coming out of a diamond if you hold it up to the sun or something. But those rays you're seeing don't actually exist. They're not really there. They are purely a optical illusion. The newly discovered illusion, nicknamed the scintillating starburst, what a name, is made up of a simple pattern of concentric reefs on a plain white background. However, almost everyone who looks at it can see bright rays or beams emanating from the center of the design. Like sunlight bursting through the clouds, the viewers see these non-existent rays because the brain connects the dots between the certain points in the reefs. Michael Karlovich, a visual artist with the background in neuroscience, created the scintillating starburst as the logo for his design company, Recursia Studios, in 2019. When I first saw the illusion I had created, I instantly had a hunch I was looking at an effect I had never seen before, Karlovich told Live Science. I was pleasantly surprised but ultimately confused as to what the mechanisms underlying the effect could be. So, he did the studies of it, went into it, and it's very similar to the dot patterns when you have all the squares and you see those dots moving around all over the place. It's very similar to that. It's our brains trying to connect these pieces, these little parts in between these diamonds here. So it's a very cool illusion. I quite like this one. And it's one that most people can see, which is really interesting. There's a lot of illusions that there's a good portion of the populace that can't actually see the illusion. Alrighty, so moving along, where are we up to? We're not going to do an hour like we did last time because I want to get to some gaming streaming as well. Alrighty, so we're moving on to Are Ghosts Real? Another Live Science article. If you believe in ghosts, you're not alone. Cultures all around the world believe in spirits that survive death to live in another realm. In fact, ghosts are among the most widely believed of paranormal phenomena. Millions of people are interested in ghosts, and thousands read ghost stories on Reddit every day. It's more than mere entertainment. A 2019 Ipsos poll found that 46% of Americans say they truly believe in ghosts. The nation is discerning in its undead beliefs. Only 7% of respondents say they believe in vampires. Well... Okay. The idea that the dead remain with us in spirit is an ancient one, appearing in countless stories from the Bible to Macbeth. It even spawned a folklore genre, ghost stories. Belief in ghosts is a part of a larger web of related paranormal beliefs, including near-death experience, life after death, and spirit communication. The belief offers many people comfort. Who doesn't want to believe that our beloved but deceased family members are looking out for us or with us in our times of need? See, I've always been a bit, not skeptical, but I do believe there's something in that way with spirits. But this whole idea that I want my family members to be a ghost, I don't think I'd want that. That would be a horrible thing for them to just exist as a ghost. I think I'd want them to go on to some sort of other life, some sort of afterlife. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. If you have any thoughts, definitely chuck them into the chat there. I'd love to have a chat and pick some other people's brains about what they think of ghosts and spirits and all those good things. So people have tried to communicate with spirits for ages. In Victorian England, for example, it's fashionable for upper crust ladies to hold seances in their parlours after tea and crumpets with friends. Ghost clubs dedicated to searching for ghostly evidence formed at prestigious universities, including Cambridge and Oxford. And in 1882, the most prominent organisation, the Society of Psychical research was established by a woman named Eleanor Sidgwick, was an investigator of that group and could be considered the original female Ghostbuster. So the interesting thing about this group, the Society of Psychical Research, is they're really, really useful in a lot of the research they did, but then they've had their hand in some really dodgy hypnotism and stuff like that, and that's where things sort of get a little bit cloudy for me. Hypnotism is, look, I think it's definitely something. There's definitely truth to hypnotism, but whether or not that's a useful thing or whether that's a you can put memories into people's heads using hypnotism. So it's one of those things you want to sort of be very careful of. So basically, I sort of put that in there because my wife and I are going to start doing a bit of ghost research in the next coming weeks. And we're going to try out the Estes method and maybe a few other things as well. So we used to do this when we were much younger, when we were teenagers. And we thought maybe we might try it again, isolated to the Odd Cave. So if anyone says, "Oh, be careful," I know the risks and everything. But if the Odd Cave gets haunted, maybe we could have a ghost come in and chat on the EVPs, have a chat on the show maybe. So that could be a very interesting thing. Alrighty, so moving on from ghosts, now we're into some of my favorite stuff. Everyone knows I love my biology and my botany as well. And I love the animal and the plant stories. So this interesting little plant that you see here is a fairy lantern, growing in a Malaysian rainforest. Within the depths of a Malaysian rainforest shadows an astonishingly plant lacking sunlight, eating leaves, bizarrely blooms. Yes, that's a mouthful. This small otherworldly growth belonging to a group of rare flowering plants known as the fairy lanterns, or Thismia, has just been scientifically described for the first time. They are tiny plants too deep within the forest to receive sunlight and often emerge beneath the leaf litter, so they don't bother with photosynthesizing and have lost the ability to do so. They have no chlorophyll. Instead, they siphon food through their roots from the fungal network shared by other rainforest plants. Their incredible mycorrhizal fungal networks connect a larger plant community together via their roots, allowing plants to communicate with each other using electric signals and even send resources to each other. In turn, the fungi receives sustenance from the plants. Plants that do this, like fairy lanterns, are thought to have evolved from one of the plant parts of the mycorrhizal fungal partnership. They've cheated the system, however, and turned fully parasitic on the fungi network. This form of food acquisition is called mycoheterotrophy. The new species, which we name Thismia citimeria, is distinct from all other Thismia species known to science. Taxonomist, oh wow, Matt Yuan City Minera from the Forest Research Institution of Malaysia and the colleagues wrote in their paper, at only 2.2 centimeters, 0.86 inches tall, the greenish brown plant was found in a primary rainforest of the Malaysian state of Terengganu. I'm probably butchering half of these words in this, by the way. By photographer Nikong Dome in 2019, who lives alongside the indigenous communities in that area. A delightful orangey yellow like a warm glowing light. The flower is uniquely shaped, a delicate cone with an umbrella-like structure on top, as if it's providing some sort of shelter. It's a very, very interesting plant. I'll bring up another image here for you. So have a look at this. This is a lot of other shapes and designs of the plant. So very meticulously evolved plant. I find this so interesting because it does not need photosynthesis, and it basically it created a atmosphere where fungi could live on it and fungi could live with it, and they could live off each other. Then, when this plant became strong enough and more powerful, it's basically turned the fungi into its primary and only food source, and so now it attracts the fungi, and then it just destroys it, just eats the crap out of it, and that's really interesting. Like normally, fungi with most plants tends to be when we talk about intelligence in plants, well, fungi shows higher signs of intelligence than most plants, and this is really interesting. I love when we start seeing intelligence in plants. Scary for some, but I find it absolutely fascinating, and probably the same reason why I have plants in my odd cave here, because I'm hoping they might learn a thing or two as I do these shows. It could be interesting to have a chat with my plants one day. Maybe we could set up some sort of a psychical research group from Britain to come out and help me talk to my plants. Alrighty, moving on. So, thousands of pigeons vanish mid-race in Bermuda Triangle mystery. I better change that picture for you. And there we go. Up to 250,000 birds were released in some 50 races all across Britain on Saturday, June 19th, but only 10% managed to return in the expected time. Thousands are still missing and have subsequently been spotted as far as Holland and Majorca. They're calling this a mass... some people are saying mass abduction, but they're calling this a mass disappearance of... similar to a Bermuda Triangle type thing. More than likely, they're being caught up in some sort of a weather stream, some sort of a slipstream or something, and they've been carried probably far, far, far away. So it's more than likely not anything too crazy, but sadly, they probably are dead. So of the 1,400 that went out, only 200 to 300 made it home. And when we looked on social media later on, we saw that lots of other federations around the UK had experienced something similar. Tasked with deciding when and where the birds are released on each race day, liaising with other federations and checking the weather situation, Dean said there'd be no warning signs that something odd was about to happen. He added the forecast had been overcast in the morning, but with good visibility by the afternoon, there were clear blue skies. Back home in Swansea. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that there's not some sort of a strange air current that's off the coast or something. He added that homing pigeons can navigate using Earth's magnetic field as a guide, but a freak occurrence such as a solar storm could have ended up distorting their sense of direction. Well, there you go. There was definitely something strange going on that day because there were hardly any wild birds in the sky at all beforehand. It was just dead up there. I've not ruled out a series of mini tornadoes being to blame. So yeah, could have been many different things. And they're calling upon anyone who has any information about this happening in the past to contact webnews@metro.co.uk, or if you've seen any of these missing birds. All right, here's one. Okay, we're getting away from. We're having a problem with that one, so we won't use that one just yet. Here, look at the plant for a while. I found one that I want to show you because this is a bit of a funny one. It's not really a weird news thing. It's just something that I found a bit comical. Once we get past the ads, of course. Yeah, my wife pointed this out to me. It's Shrek. Yeah. Shrek fans are horrified after discovering the grim fate of Mama Bear. All right, have a look at this.
All right. We watching Shrek, right? Now we got the three bears: Daddy Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear.
This is messed up
because the cage is too small, right? Now, anyways, Mama Bear got the pink bow. Remember that. Mama Bear got the pink bow. Remember that pink bow.
So for those listening, this is the Shrek part at the start of the movie where the bears are all in cages, the three bears. Now we
We got 2 bears.
Now they're at the
Papa Bear and Baby
campsite
Bear,
at the swamp.
but no Mama Bear.
There's
Where's
Papa
Mama
Bear and
they're
Baby Bear, but
free,
yeah, no
right?
Mama Bear.
But Baby Bear is still crying. Papa Bear still looks sad. Why? Because Mama Bear ain't there. Where's Mama Bear? Fast forward.
And here we go into Farquaad's castle. And there she is. Mama Bear's a rug.
Bruh.
Mama Bear got turned into a rug.
Bruh.
Oh. That was actually quite upsetting when I saw that. I've watched that movie thousands of times, I reckon. It would have to be thousands of times when I was a kid. And I never picked up on that. So I don't know. I just don't know. Okay, I don't know where that story came from. Okay, so now we're going to go on to what in the hell is this guy doing? This is shovel racing. So what is shovel racing? So this is our weird sport for the day. All right, so shovel racing is a sport practiced in some parts of the United States. It consists of riders racing down a snowy hill riding on a shovel. It has been practiced on both typical snow shovels and modified shovel-based sleds. It was once an event in the Winter X Games, but was removed due to safety concerns. Competitive shovel racing has its roots in New Mexico's ski resorts in the 70s. It began after ski resort workers used shovels as sleds to quickly move from one location to another. The shovel racer typically races on a basic snow shovel. The rider sits on the shovel facing the handle and leans back with his feet pointing to forwards. In some cases, shovel racers have extensively modified shovels to the point that they bear little resemblance to normal shovels. These shovels have been banned from competition due to safety concerns after a high-profile accident on a modified shovel. Competitors generally wax the underside of the shovel in order to increase its speed. The top speed of an elite shovel racer can range up to 70 miles per hour. That's 112 kilometers an hour. That's insane. That is mental. No wonder they're wearing a crash helmet. So this is another strange sport that I'm bringing light to because they haven't really been able to do anything with it since 2019, really. The virus obviously knocked out a lot of the shovel racing. And yeah, I mean, you've got to registration for pro men is $70 or $55 or $40, depending on your level. Yeah, it's just a really crazy and interesting sport. All right. So before we finish up, we're going to talk about something I found very, very interesting. And this is the weather for, I guess, yeah, this will be the weather part of the show. And what we are looking at here, this is a giant wall of sand that engulfs the city of northern China. A giant wall of sand shrouded a city in northern China, leaving the area in darkness. This video was filmed in the city of Bayanu in Inner Mongolia on June 28th. The lowest visibility was less than 50 meters, and the sandstorm lasted for 40 minutes. The video was provided by local media with permission. That is crazy. Now, this happens in this area of the world, but never for this long. So this is just one of those freak weather system things that happens. And yeah, we may never see this happen again. But as I said, they always get sandstorms there, but never like this. This is one massive sandstorm. So shit's getting weird out there, people. Definitely some weird weather happening right now. Alrighty, so thank you for joining me for the Oddball News. Glad that you joined me, and definitely check out the rest of the podcast wherever you find good podcasts, and also check out the Twitter at Aussie Oddball. You can also find me on Instagram at Aussie Oddball. The Facebook and the TeePublic is the Oddball Aussie Podcast, and you can buy some really cool merch over at the TeePublic store. And also check out if you want to send me any messages, want to send me any stories, send them to the Oddball Aussie at hotmail.com. And if you want to communicate on the Twitter, you can find me at Aussie Oddball, and I'm mostly talkative on both of those. So, alrighty, thank you again for joining me, and make sure you look after each other and stay safe out there in the weird. Good night.